Hey everyone, welcome to another Authentic Health podcast. I'm your host, Lacey, and I am pumped for today's episode. We have Courtney on the podcast. Her Instagram is the Female Athlete DPT, so all of that will be listed below. But she is a physical therapist specializing in, all things women's health, but specifically pelvic floor therapy. And I wanted to have her on the podcast because I just feel like with all the women that I work with on the nutrition side, like we as women should advocate for our health. And we talk about this in the podcast and she does such a great job, but it's like the little symptoms that may be common don't necessarily have to happen or don't have to be normal. So I hope you all enjoy this podcast. She was a fantastic guest, and definitely go check her out. She's here to help. So again, hope you enjoy the podcast. Hey everyone, welcome to another Authentic Health podcast. I am so dang excited to have my good friend Courtney on today. So Courtney, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. This is so exciting.
Of course. I feel like anytime that I can have a female business owner, and then health and wellness all together. So I feel like you're the perfect epitome of what I want on the podcast.
Yes, I love that. And I'm glad to share all things female related, women's health, hormones, athletics, pelvic health, all the thing, and entrepreneurship, right? Like,
yes,
yes,
they all go together for sure. Okay, well, first let's just dive into who are you for all the listeners. First, how did we actually met? Like, is it just through friends from school, or like, I honestly don't remember when we met or how we met.
Through First Form. So we were both like ambassadors of First Form. Like, I was in physical therapy school at the time. So this was like 5 or 6 years ago
that is right. At the event. That is
where summer smash. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Now it's all coming back to me. Yep. That is when we met.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, cool. Very cool. So, Ben, like you wanted to do PT for sure. When did you transition, or like, when did you know women's health specific and then pelvic floor, like specific?
Yeah. So I knew I wanted to be a PT since like high school. So I went through college and, with the goal of PT, and then I always just wanted to work with athletes. And then I eventually just kind of transitioned to like, okay, what kind of athletes? And so female athletes, because I was a female athlete all through middle school, high school. And, I love working out. So I was like, female athletes, that's exactly what I want to work with. And so I didn't want to do like pelvic health, like specifically. I just wanted to work with any type of like female athlete, but I knew like deep inside, like I would be doing female athletes a disservice if I actually didn't become a pelvic health specialist too, because there's so many things that can go wrong in the pelvic health world or with your pelvic floor muscles that can relate to athletics, especially females who have leakage or prolapse, later in life, or even as a young athlete. All of those struggles that they could be dealing with during their either their sports or just like if they go to the gym and lift on their own. So I knew that I would be doing a disservice if I didn't actually like get into that continuing education, take those courses and learn those therapy techniques and the methods and, interventions behind treating all of that. And so I did that after school. I took more education after school, because when I graduated, I'm just a generalist, and I really had no idea what I wanted to do when I graduated. I was like, I just want to work in outpatient orthopedics, regular sports medicine, knees, shoulders, all of that, just to kind of get experience and mentorship as a new grad, because you just graduate and you're like, I don't know what to do. I need help.
There's so many different avenues, and like, there's so much to choose from. Exactly.
And so that's kind of where I was like, okay, what do I do? What do I do next? So then took some courses and dove right into it, and here we are.
Yes. And I'm so excited to dive in, because I feel like I would like to say I understand, but then when I actually like start thinking about questions, I really don't think I know much about pelvic floor and just what you do as a pelvic floor therapist, because, and this is why I wanted to have you on it, because I know how important it is. And then just seeing your social media, like I've already learned so much, but it's almost, I feel like in what we do and what we talk about, it can make people feel uncomfortable. Like we talk a lot about sex hormones and cycles and, all of, reproductive health and all these things. And so I wanted to have you on this podcast to share exactly, why it's beneficial to women, like what can they expect, especially you being virtual, like how does that work? So if we can just, I don't even know like where I want to go first, because I have so many questions. Like,
let's just
pretend I know
like pelvic health.
Yes. So pretend I know nothing about pelvic floor health or anything. Where would you start with someone who is, has no idea?
Yeah. So, first things first, like pelvic floor muscles, like that's really where we can start. Everybody knows, generalized areas of their body, generalized muscle names, like your quads, your shoulders, your deltoids, like your glutes, but nobody really knows what the pelvic floor muscles are. And so that's kind of where I would just start. So awareness of the anatomy and function. So pelvic floor muscles sit like a hammock at the bottom of the pelvis. They, run from pubic bone all the way to tailbone and then sit bone to sit bone. So they span a large portion of the bottom of the pelvis, and they are so important. They make up like 5 different functions. So essentially, they have sexual function, they are supportive for your pelvic bones together, as well as holding your organs up and, kind of suspending them up in the cavity and those organs, your reproductive organs, as well as your bladder and your bowels. And then they help the sump pump function, where they essentially kind of help getting rid of toxins and lymph and extra fluid that can kind of build up in the pelvic area, and then help with stopping the flow of urine, feces, and gas. And so some of those functions, like we don't ever think about our muscular function, right? We think that that's just organ function and that's just something not under our control, and it's just controlled involuntarily by our nervous system. But our muscles, those muscles are like arguably, I think, the most important muscles in our body, because they can lead to dysfunction that affects quality of life. So I think of it differently than like, you have some type of tear in your shoulder muscles and you can't use your shoulder, or you can't raise your arm up above your head. And like, that's impairs quality of life in the sense of like, you can't reach into your cupboard and get a glass out, but like you can still live. You're not embarrassed. You're not ashamed. There's not a terrible connotation around it when you talk about it with other people. But when it comes to the pelvic floor muscles and dysfunction of the pelvic floor, where you get symptoms of like leakage or prolapse, and prolapse is essentially kind of like the pelvic organs descending into the cavity, which can kind of feel like heaviness and pressure downward. A lot of times postpartum women will kind of feel that feeling immediately postpartum, and sometimes it just doesn't go away. Or like symptoms of leakage. So like those are symptoms that are, embarrassing, and people feel ashamed and they have low self-esteem and low confidence. And oftentimes those types of situations, women are too afraid to go to the gym and exercise because they don't want to, have other people see that they have leaked in their pants, or they're too afraid to go to the trampoline park and jump on the trampoline with their kiddos because they're afraid they're going to pee themselves. So those types of symptoms really affect quality of life, right? It impairs people from doing activities that they love with their family members, with their children, with their friends, or it interferes with them in their sexual life, where they can have like pelvic pain and pelvic tension and painful intercourse, where then it now affects not only them and their partner and their intimacy in their relationship, but it also affects their own self-esteem, like feeling like something is wrong with them and they feel ashamed and they feel broken. And that's where I really like to step in and support women, because those types of symptoms really affect not just their day-to-day function. It's really like it affects them internally. So,
and I don't know if you ever
feel.
No, that's perfect. And I feel like we both work on topics where just because things are common doesn't mean they're normal or optimal. So like I feel like I hear all the time, like, especially that postpartum, like, oh, this is just how it is. Or like in menopause, like where all these women are having these symptoms, it's just what it is. Like women just go through menopause. So it's just something you have to deal with. And that's not the case. There are so many things that we can do to improve these symptoms, whether it's hormonal issues or like the physical that you were talking about, like the uncomfortable or like tension in sexual intercourse and or leakage or things like that. So there absolutely are things that we can do. And just because they're quote unquote normal doesn't necessarily mean, or they're common doesn't mean that's, that's how they should be, or they don't have to be like that.
And unfortunately, that's just the reality that sometimes providers, and not only providers, but like friends and family put that connotation on it, where they're like, yeah, hey, girl, girl, I leak too. Like, I've always leaked since I had my baby, or like your aunt will be like, oh, I've leaked since I had your cousin 15 years ago. And even providers will be like, oh, that's normal after having a baby. Like sex should be painful, or, that's just a side effect of being a mom. Like you should, you leak, you have incontinence, that kind of thing. And like, it's just unfortunate that like people say those things to people, so it makes them feel welcomed, and it makes them feel less alone, and it makes them feel comfortable, right? Because it's like, I'm not alone in this situation, you also leak, or the doctor says it's okay, so that just means it's normal. But quite frankly, it's not normal. You should be able to live up until you're 100 years old and not pee your pants. Like that's just the reality. It's not a side effect of being a mom. It's not a side effect of having a baby. It's literally not normal, and we shouldn't put that label on it ever.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's why, one of the main reasons that I wanted to have this conversation, because again, I haven't had a baby, so I haven't gone through that. But I just see what you post, and I can just imagine how many women will relate to this for sure. Okay. So let's talk about women like myself. Do I need a pelvic floor therapist? Like I'm, haven't had a baby. I don't think I necessarily have symptoms, but like, is it something I can do proactively? Like if I'm, getting ready to have a baby, or what does that look like on the opposite end?
Yeah. So if you are somebody like a female athlete who doesn't have symptoms, doesn't have anything really wrong, I think that just awareness, like just know what the pelvic floor muscles are, what they do, where they're at. So that way you can better support it for the rest of your life. Like pelvic floor therapy is one of those things. It's like, you don't have to have something wrong to go to it. It's not like traditional physical therapy where it's like, yeah, you have to have knee pain to go see, typically if you want your insurance to cover it, and if you go insurance route, typically they want a referral from a doctor with a reason. Otherwise your insurance is just like, why do you need to go? Why should I pay for this kind of thing? But usually for pelvic floor therapy, and typically with any physical therapy, you can just go off the street. Like you don't typically need a referral if you are in a state where there's direct access to physical therapy. So if you are a female and maybe you are having some types of symptoms, maybe it's urinary urgency, like you feel like you have to use the restroom all the time, frequently going, or even if you have the sudden urge to urinate and you have some leakage on the way to the restroom, or you can't ever hold your bladder. That's not necessarily something that's debilitating. It's not embarrassing. It's not impairing your quality of life, but it's annoying. Then that's a type of symptom that you can just go and, go to pelvic floor therapy and be like, hey, I'm experiencing urinary urgency and frequency, and that's really annoying to me. It's not really a problem. It doesn't bother me, but it's like, just like, this isn't normal, essentially. You should be able to hold your bladder. So you can just go off the street and go get pelvic floor therapy. And then also, like, if you are trying to conceive or you become pregnant, 100% go, because there's always something you can learn, even if you don't have symptoms. And even if it comes to postpartum too, go. Like I'm more of like the prehab kind of thing. Like I would rather educate and make you aware of something that could happen so you can get ahead of it and not let it happen. But also at the same time, there's always something you can learn, right? Like, absolutely. How many of us know, like, you're not supposed to strain on the toilet? Nobody tells you. I feel like
that's very common.
Right. And so like for you, like you could go and just get a consultation and just be like, I just want to know everything there is to know about pelvic floor health, because I do want to have babies in the future. I do,
Yeah.
I am a female athlete, and I probably have some habits and behaviors that I've done my whole life that haven't created any problems right now, but like could create problems in the future. Like I would just want to go and just get educated, because I'm just that type of person.
Yeah.
Because I'm very proactive. I'm like, I want to live to be 100, and I want to be healthy, and I want to support my body in the best possible way. So you're probably asking the wrong person, but because I'm like I said, like I am like go anyway. But if you are experiencing symptoms, then absolutely go. It should be your first stop. Try physical therapy first. And typically, if you do want to go insurance route, sometimes you do have to go through your doctor, but there are options out there. Like for me, I work virtually with people. I do pelvic health coaching. So it's not necessarily in-person physical therapy, and it's not physical therapy online, but it is coaching in the aspect of I can help you with the problems that you're experiencing and help you become problem aware and educated and know what to look for, how to combat any symptoms that may arise. And but if you are somebody, this is a long answer.
No, I ramble all the time. And like, as you're like saying things, I had like 10 different bubbles pop up in my head, but I'm completely with you. Like be proactive about these things. And I mean, nutrition as well. I tell all the, like, even if someone's like, oh, I, have a perfect diet or whatever, I'm like, okay, but it's still that conversation. And it's just having the knowledge, because how my body is functioning now is not going to be the same in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 20 years. It's not. And so learning these things, whether it's nutrition or fitness related, can help you have that healthy growth so that you're not having these symptoms. And my mind instantly goes to like the proactive. And I want to, like, especially pregnancy talking, like I want to be 100% prepared. Well, as much as I can. I know you can't really prepare for everything, but like if having a strong pelvic floor or deep core or whatever it is can help me during my pregnancy, during labor, and then postpartum, like during the healing, definitely going to do that. And that's one thing, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that I've been kind of looking more into is like really focusing on deep core instead of just like your quote unquote typical like core exercises. Like those work together, right? Like pelvic floor and deep core. And
yes. Yeah. So the deep core would be like your core is made up of your pelvic floor. Like your core is essentially your diaphragm, your pelvic floor at the bottom, your abdominal, transverse abdominis, like the deep core, and then your back muscles. And so that makes up, and your obliques, that makes up your deep core. And so
I wouldn't have thought about pelvic floor, like when I'm thinking about core.
It literally is the bottom of your core. So you can't contract the transverse abdominis without contracting the pelvic floor. They're connected through fascia.
See, that's so interesting. Like I have my certificate and stuff, but obviously I'm not certified in pelvic floor or, training postpartum, anything like that. But that's so interesting. Okay. So give us some advice or tips and tricks for that. Like, how should females be training? Is that like, can we come to you and get like a program? Like, what should we be doing proactively or postpartum? I guess that could be two different questions.
So during, so if it's relating specifically to pregnancy, like training the deep core is of utmost importance, because no matter what, and this is funny because no matter what, everyone's like, I don't want ab separation. Like, I don't want condomine. I don't want diastasis, and which diastasis is abdominal separation. And that is 100% normal. Like we cannot,
like it's going to happen.
It just happens. Like, your abs literally have to split so you can grow a human. Like that's just the reality. You can't prevent it. Some people have a greater genetic disposal to it. Like some people will get it worse than others. Some people are born with diastasis and they don't know it until they're pregnant or afterwards, because it becomes more apparent. Because you can literally be born. Some people just don't have that connection at the linea alba, and that's okay. That's just the way they were born. And it's not bothersome until it becomes a problem. Right. And so during pregnancy, I think that strengthening your deep core is utmost importance, and being able to engage those muscles with your day-to-day activities. Like there is nothing wrong with engaging the deep core. People think like, oh, you're not supposed to contract your core when you're pregnant. And it is true. Like you're not supposed to do sit-ups and like crunches and those types of abdominal movements, because that's just it. That's a global muscular pattern, and it's just not feasible. And it just is not comfortable. And it's not that it's going to harm the baby. It's just really not comfortable. But the deep core and engaging that, and like, it's almost like you're hugging your baby up and in. And that is very, very healthy. Like that is okay. That is good, because you're just contracting your muscle and you're supporting baby, really. And you're supporting your spine and your back muscles, and you're less likely to put compression on the lumbar spine as because your center of gravity shifts so much more forward when you get pregnant, and you end up walking, or, essentially kind of having your hips and abdomen more forward because the center of gravity, and you're trying to pull yourself back. Otherwise you would essentially fall forward. Yeah. And so being able to engage your core throughout pregnancy and keeping that strong integrity of the core and the abdominal muscles is really important. Not only because, it's going to help you with labor and delivery, but it will set you up for success, postpartum. You will have less work to do in kind of re-engaging those muscles, that mind to muscle connection, and you will have less of a hard time like recovering wise, because you're just overall stronger too. So I think that's so everybody right now should be, doing deep core exercises, despite anything, right? You don't have to have back pain. You don't have to have abdominal pain, leakage. You don't have to have symptoms to strengthen those muscles. And so I'm a big advocate for it.
No, that's, we should be treating it the same as, like I say all the time, like resistance training is so important, not only like for hormone regulation and just healthy maintenance of weight, but like, do you not want to be able to go to the bathroom, like get up yourself, or like get out of your bed, or if you drop something, like be able to pick it up? Like that's what we should be doing. But you're right. I don't think about how important like pelvic floor is. I think like, those main muscles that we were talking about that people use and think about all the time. And then especially like if you're in the fitness world or you're lifting for aesthetics, do you really think about those internal muscles that, don't give you that aesthetic that a lot of lifters are going for? And so knowing like it is important for overall health and healthy aging, and like these milestones in life that we're talking about, like it is so important. So we need to do a better job at, sharing. I mean, you do a great job, but like making it known.
Well, it's the same thing as like when you strengthen the deep core, it's like strengthening your rotator cuff muscles for your shoulder, or your glute med and your hip internal external rotators. Like everyone that's at the gym and they're doing like, shoulder ER, IR, like on the cable system for their shoulder. And they're also doing like clamshells and like kickbacks and like all these other glute activation exercises. It's the same thing. You're trying to activate those smaller muscles around your joints to protect those joints, right? It's the same thing as your deep core. Like, why are we constantly doing crunches and sit-ups and butterfly sit-ups and side bends and penguins and whatever, flutter kicks, all of those global muscle activation? But why don't we engage our deep core? And it's not necessarily one of those things where it's like you have to lay down on your back and do all of these boring exercises that are not fun and sexy, but it's engaging that muscle with every single rep, every single exercise that you do. Like that muscle should be engaged when you squat, when you overhead press, when you're doing a bicep curl, when you're doing a lat pull down, when you're doing anything, when you're squatting anything, like that muscle needs to be on, because that stabilizes your core and distributes forces better from lower extremity to upper extremity, because our pelvis helps force absorb or absorb force from lower body to upper body. So it is really important that you learn to activate those muscles with everything. And then you don't have to do the boring, not sexy exercises laying on your back, because your core is strong, because you're using it all the time. And you're using it in the kitchen, you're doing the dishes, and you're using it as you bend over and pick something up, or you're mopping the floor. Like for me, I'm activating that muscle probably 23 hours a day, besides when I'm sleeping.
So
you know what I mean?
I mean, I'm sure you like go through this in all of your one-on-one training, but like if you could give a general idea, like if someone's sitting here and be like, what the heck does she mean by activate that? Like, how do you know? What do you look for? What do you feel? Like, is that something that you could share, or is that like a way more in depth that obviously you would have to do
No, I
one-on-one?
mean, everybody can activate their deep core. It's just a little bit harder because you want to be able to still breathe. And a lot of people will just kind of suck in their stomach, right? Because they're like, oh yeah, I'm trying to like really activate that muscle. But it's really like a gentle drawing in of the belly button. This is the best way to describe it. And like
I'm doing it right now.
everyone's gonna have different cues. Like, but for me and what works for most of my clients is kind of drawing in belly button in towards your spine.
Okay.
But at the same time, as you're doing that, you want to not suck in. Like you should be able to engage that muscle and still breathe effectively. And a lot of people tend to not disassociate the two. They tend to just like suck in instead of actually just it's a brace. And so oftentimes too, people will try and rock their pelvis. They'll try and posterior pelvic tilt and kind of tuck under to get that abdominal contraction. But what happens when you do that too is then you're just kind of rotating at the spine and the pelvis. And that muscle is not a pelvic rotator. That muscle is it braces. That muscle is a corset muscle. It wraps around from the front of the spine or from the front of the abdomen all the way around and connects to your spine through fascia. And so when you contract that muscle, you might even feel an increase in pressure or a little bit of discomfort in your low back because that helps to stabilize your low back and activates even way back there. And so if you're doing it right, you will feel contractions kind of, or like a little bit of pressure in your low back, which is okay. Typically, once you get that muscle stronger, you're not going to feel that. Like, you'll be able to get that really strong and it helps to stabilize your spine. So probably if you're feeling a little bit of pressure, you might even have a little bit of lumbar instability that you need to focus on too.
That is so interesting.
Brace. That muscle is a corset. It stabilizes and braces. It does not rotate. It does not switch and flex and extend. Like it stabilizes. That's it. So if you're doing too much, you're not doing it right.
Hey everyone, just wanted to pop in and share with you about my fitness app. We just started a new 12-week program, which all of the programs are always on the app. So if you start a little bit into the challenge, or maybe you don't download the app right away, that's okay. All of the workouts will remain. But in the link below, you can try out the app for a 7-day free trial to see if it's for you. I will be, in the app with you. All of the movements are recorded. I share how to do them, your reps, your sets, all of that is planned out for you. And so I would love to have you go check out that app, work out with me. All fitness levels are welcomed. We love working with women and helping you reach your fitness goals. So you really only need dumbbells and bands to complete these workouts. So you don't need a full gym or anything. If you have a gym, you absolutely can bring this app into the gym with you and work through these movements and these workouts together. So again, check out my fitness app for all of your workout planning below. And let's get back to the podcast. I have so many questions now. So like, are dead bugs and you like those kind of movements better?
Okay. Yeah, dead bugs are great. But a dead bug is actually a really advanced movement pattern. So typically when people do dead bugs, they can engage their core really well, but if they are having any amount of rib flaring, especially as you extend, because when you do transverse abdominis movements, you should not have rib flare. You should keep those ribs stacked over your hips, right? Because that's where the transverse abdominis connects. It connects to your rib cage, it connects to your pelvis, and it connects to your spine. And so you have to keep that trunk rigid, right? That trunk's not moving in order for that muscle to be engaged. And so when you're doing dead bugs and you're lowering your leg or you're reaching up overhand with your arm, like if you're rib flaring and you're basically essentially like extending the spine at the same time, as well as like when you're kicking out and lowering that leg, like you're missing the boat. Like you're not engaging, the spine is gone, or like the stabilization is gone at that point. So it is a really advanced movement, and a lot of people don't even do it right.
Yeah.
So
Oh, I hope I'm
typically I
doing it
would
right.
start with something. Yeah, I would start with something really basic, like just engage that muscle and single leg lower, one at a time. And if that's too
Oh,
hard and you're
yeah.
still rocking your pelvis or you're rocking your rib cage at the same time and you're not breathing, remember we still have to breathe.
Yeah.
Um, Start with something really small. Maybe it's even a heel tap. Maybe it's not a full
Mm-hmm.
leg extension and it's just a little tap and you're going back and forth. Like
Yep.
start small and then progress.
So with
And
like a
I see it with
heel,
people.
like a heel tap. So for people that are listening, like lying on your back, knees at 90 degrees, heel tap one at a time.
Yeah. And
Correct.
even
Okay.
if that's still too advanced, keep one leg planted and just heel tap one time,
Oh,
one side at a time. Yeah.
okay. So is that going
Um,
to check off the box for pelvic floor and like it's a whole, like that movement is
Great pelvic floor
okay.
exercise as long as you're breathing. But if
I
you are
see. That's
holding your
one thing.
breath
I
the whole
I don't know if I
time,
breathe all the time.
yeah. So when you breathe, you get range of motion in the pelvic floor. Remember, because the diaphragm and pelvic floor,
Oh
that's the top, that's the bottom. So they mirror one another. So as you're inhaling, exhaling, your pelvic floor is lengthening and contracting at the same time. So if you're breath holding the whole time, that diaphragm comes down, that pelvic floor comes down and relaxes. It lengthens. It's at its weakest state. And if you're holding your breath and contracting your core, you're just holding tension or holding pressure in your abdomen downward on that pelvic floor, and you can create weakness over time. So you
oh my
have to be
goodness.
able to breathe at the same time. And a lot of women, they will tend to just run
Mm-mm.
through their core exercises, not breathing, holding their breath, and then they're just putting pressure downward on their pelvic floor and they're really not engaging their core. So,
That is so
yeah.
good. And then one thing I noticed as I just have been learning a little bit more is like you were talking about like the coning and so I don't know if it was maybe your page or something.
Yeah.
Someone was like talking about a visual, like when you're doing core, your abs shouldn't or your core shouldn't like elevate and get that like coning. It really should come down, right?
Yeah. So some people will like call it the bread loaf. So if you were to lay on your back right now and sit up without
Mm-hmm.
any muscle activation, it would probably look like a bread loaf. Like,
And
because
I
you're,
think that's what I was doing. Like I was
yeah.
thinking and it would raise a little bit.
So that is typically just global muscle activation, or no muscle activation at all. You're just like kind of putting pressure into your abdomen and sitting up. And so with people who have diastasis, where they actually
Mm-hmm.
have abdominal separation, they will get that coning and doming in addition to the bread loaf. It'll look a little bit more apparent. So it really will look like a cone in the middle of their abdomen along that linea alba down the middle.
Wow.
So for people, when you do sit up, and I recommend this for everybody, like even
Mm-hmm.
if you don't have diastasis or anything, like engage your core when you sit up. Because as you sit up, if you're engaging that muscle, it won't look like a bread loaf.
Yeah.
It'll be flat because you're using those muscles, the deep core, right? Your core set.
This is so interesting because yeah, you see people do core all the time, but I mean, even I feel like I have like a general knowledge. Obviously, I have my training cert and it definitely touches on a little bit, but like obviously this is way, more in depth,
Yeah.
but it's just so interesting. Like there's just so much. So if a female is listening to this and even myself, I'm like, okay, so what do we do? Okay, so we can work with you one-on-one. Does that look like sessions? Do you give me like a workout plan? Like how does a female go about improving this or where does she start?
Yeah. So I offer a free consultation call. So we can get on the phone, specifically for me, we can get on the phone and chat about anything and everything that you're experiencing. And we can talk about options of what, it would look like to work with me virtually, or it would look like, if you really need in person, if, whatever, it just really depends on what the person needs at hand. And so
Mm-hmm.
the next step, if we were to choose to work together, then, I do an initial assessment through Zoom or Google Meet where we can kind of dive into a movement screen, a movement analysis, and then dive into like the subjective, objective symptoms that they're presenting with and ultimately create a plan of care from that initial assessment where we kind of dive into everything, figure out, why you're experiencing what you're experiencing, and then action steps on how to treat it.
Mm-hmm.
So then after that, we'll create that plan of care, and that will look like an exercise routine, whether it's, rehab focused. Maybe we need to really focus on just core movements and engaging that muscle really well, learning pressure management. It really just depends on the person at hand. So if it's a female athlete who's a little bit higher level, like they like to run marathons or they like to do CrossFit, something really, really, heavy weightlifting, they're going to be doing a little bit more foundational work to kind of get their body back to a state where, more equilibrium, right? So they can engage their muscles better. There's less muscular imbalance. There's less muscular fatigue. There's no symptoms, that kind of thing. And then we progress it into more of a resistant heavy training program where they're able to load those muscles and essentially progress back to their sport or the activity that they love doing, hopefully symptom free.
That's so interesting, because I feel like I said that a million times, but do you ever have anybody come to you and they're like, oh, I, squat this amount, like I'm, doing all this, I don't need to lay and do like heel taps. Like, do you ever have anyone that's like, nah, like, like we don't need to do this little thing? Because in my mind, it's not in my mind, but like laying on the floor and just doing a heel tap, I feel like some people could be like, what is the point of this? Like, because they probably don't feel it, or like, I don't know. You experience
There's
that?
a lot. Yeah. There's a lot of people that are just like, can you progress me quickly? And I'm like, no,
like, nope.
Nope. I will humble you really quick. I promise. Because they are,
need it.
They are hardcore movements. And even for myself, I don't have symptoms, and I don't necessarily like do boring core workouts. Like I'll tell you that straight up. Like I'm not in the gym doing these types of things. I don't have symptoms though. But I do train it in my day-to-day tasks, my chores, my, I'm mopping, I'm doing the dishes. Like my core is on, my posture is good. So like, I don't necessarily have to sit down and focus on those things. And so as a higher level athlete who wants that intensity and they want that stimulus of, I gotta sweat to get a good workout. I gotta sweat to know if I'm actually activating my muscles. And I'm like, I just like kind of humble them. I'm like, well, if you keep doing what you've been doing, you're going to keep doing what you've been doing. Yeah. You're going to keep having the symptoms you've been having, right? We have to fix the cracks and imbalances in the foundation that got you to this position.
Yep.
If I wanted you to go and do squat cleans and thrusters and Olympic weightlifting and, heavy deadlifts, then I could have you go do those things just fine, but you're still going to have those symptoms. So we have to take a step back. We have to give you these accessory programs to get you into a better position, because it will only help you. I'm not here to like pull back the reins on your intensity and make you hate your life and make you question everything, but it's necessary. Like there's a reason that we do these things, and there's a reason why it works, why it gets results. So you just have to stick it out.
I feel like it's very similar. Yeah. Like hearing you talk about that, like the maybe not so flashy or not so sexy things, but like it's so important. Like I think of when I do my nutrition consults, some women are like, end goal, lose weight. How do I get there now? And I'm like, no, we got to break it down. Okay. Is it a hormone imbalance? Is it cortisol? Is it inflammation? Like, so it may start with, okay, let's, implement this food or increase water or like work on sleep. And they're like, no, but I want to lose weight. And I'm like, okay, we have to break it down, because that end goal is not going to happen healthfully if we don't affect or like focus on step one. So I feel like that's pelvic floor is like, it's not flashy. It's not, the big crazy movements where you're lifting as heavy as you can, like, but it truly is like, this is funny, pun intended. It's the core, like movements, it like has to be like addressed first.
It really does. And it takes time. Like I always relate it back to like people that like want to come in and like, if they're like, I just want a bigger butt, I just want to squat and get a bigger butt. And it's like, do you know how long it takes to build a butt?
Long time.
Like a long time. Do you know how long it takes to like get like really capped delts and like really and build muscle? It takes a long time. So you sitting down and doing these not so sexy, boring heel taps or, bird dogs or whatever boring exercises, like it's the same thing. You can't skip it. You just have to grind it out for a month, 2 months, progress it as you can. Like if it gets better and you get easier at the movement, then we can load it. We can give you a weight to hold as long as you still do it correctly. Your form is right. You're activating the right muscles. Like that's where we can then progress you. But it takes time, just like with nutrition, like in hormones. Like I remember like a couple of years ago, I was going through so many hormone things, getting off birth control. And I was so frustrated because I was a CrossFit athlete. I wanted to just get in the gym 2 hours a day, 6 days a week, and sweat and throw weight around and do hours of intensity cardio. And my nutrition or my naturopath that I was working with at the time was like, no,
you got to stop.
You get to go for walks. And I was like,
the amount of times I've told women to stop exercising as much and they need to bring it down, they're like, absolutely not. I'm like, okay, well, this is what needs to happen. And it is kind of backwards, but in their mind, it's kind of backwards, but that really is what needs to happen.
Yep. It's really unfortunate. That mindset shift because, and this is the thing that I talk to with my athletes about, it's called athlete brain. And we need that stimulus to feel good more so than anything else.
That's me.
That's me too. Right. Yep. Like if I don't go to the gym and work out, I feel like, oh, I'm going to regress. I'm going to get worse. I'm going to gain weight. I'm going to, I'm going to get weaker. Like I'm not going to look as lean, that aesthetic and all of these negative connotations. And it's like, oh my gosh, when I finally actually stopped doing that activity,
slow down,
inflammation lowered, my sleep got better, my hormones got better. And I'm like, they're onto something here, like they know what they're talking about.
It is so true. And sometimes like, women in our consult, like, be like, I'm not doing enough, or like, is water really that big of a deal, or sleep? I'm like, yes, it's the little things over and over building up that will seriously make all the difference. And sometimes you got to give them just a little tough love,
It's the same thing with pelvic floor therapy. Yep. And I'm like, tell your athlete brain, we'll get there. Just give me a little bit of time first, calm her down inside. Like you're not going to derail your progress. You're going to be okay. But it's, the same thing. We have to take a step back. We have to slow down and do the foundational things first. Sleep,
absolutely,
water, nutrition, core movements. Like it's all of the same thing.
Yep, absolutely. So I feel like I've heard kind of conflicting things about like Kegels. I feel like Kegels is like the big word. Should like we know what that is, or like should we be doing them, or what are your thoughts with Kegels in general?
Yeah. So I don't care for Kegels. I'm not a Kegel queen.
That's what I've heard.
Yes. So Kegels are not the end all be all. They are great and fantastic for people who have no idea what the pelvic floor muscles are in their body. So they are really great for motor coordination, motor control, getting that mind to muscle connection. But that's really it. Because people don't know how to do them right, and they do them like quickly, or they don't hold them, or they're holding their breath, or they're doing it while they're like doing the dishes and distracted, or they're driving. So people just don't do them right, or at the right time, or all of that. So like I don't prescribe them unless you're working with me one-on-one.
And you can like feel that.
We go through the basics, and I think you're appropriate for them. So if you were somebody who is a new mom and you're not having any problems, but we really just need to kind of strengthen that connection because you just grew a human for 9 months and then birthed them out your vagina. Like we need to establish that connection. Because they are important. You should be able, and you need to be able to contract those muscles when appropriately. Like, if you're having leakage or something, you need to be able to kind of contract those muscles. But I don't prescribe them for an exercise because, like I said, people don't know how to do them right, and they don't strengthen the muscles in the way that they should. Because there are other movement patterns that can strengthen those muscles much more effectively.
Okay. Yeah. Cause in my mind, I'm like, or what I've been told is like, act like you are, or like when you're going to the bathroom, like making yourself stop peeing and then go again and then stop. Is that like completely false?
Never do Kegels on the toilet ever. ever.
This is what I've heard. And I'm sure you can agree, like some things you hear on social media, like when I hear things about nutrition, it boils me. I'm like, what? Like that doesn't make any sense. So I'm sure with you too.
I just throw my phone. I'm like, who told you this? Where did you get this information? So it's funny. Because when you do there's a thing, it's called the stop test. And it's a test to actually see if you can actually activate those muscles on the toilet. Because we want to be able to see if you can stop the flow of urine. Because if you can stop the flow of urine, you can activate the muscles correctly. But people tend to just activate the superficial muscles to stop the flow of urine. Some people don't even activate the entire pelvic floor. There's 5 layers. You need to be able to activate them all. And so that is just a test to see if you can do it. It is not the prescription.
It's not the actual exercise.
Do not do them on the toilet ever, because your muscles need to be able to relax. They gotta let them
Okay. Yeah. That's super interesting. Just
so there's one thing,
what I heard.
So there's one thing anyone listening learns from this is don't do Kegels on the toilet.
Okay, perfect. So clearly we just need to work with a professional, obviously, to really be able to focus on those and like to feel them and I have so many things going in my mind. Like, I feel like I'm thinking of every life stage, like whether you're young, pregnant, trying to get pregnant, or like later in life, like there's really no perfect time to do it or to not do it. Like every female can do it, right? Like across all ages for different reasons.
Yeah. Wait, I missed your question. I'm sorry.
I know. I hope this doesn't basically like, if I know we've touched on pregnancy and like that life stage, but any female, all life stages can benefit from pelvic floor health.
Yes.
Okay.
Anybody can benefit. I mean, I have 16-year-olds that I work with right now who are gymnasts.
Oh, wow.
One gymnast and one track athlete that I have, and they're in high school. Pelvic floor related issues. And then also anyone, pregnancy, postpartum. When I was in the clinic, I treated someone who was 92 years old. So I see them all.
Wow. And it's at least worth
men as well.
Yes. And like definitely just worth the conversation, whether it comes from a whole program or maybe just you can give a workout program, whatever it is. Having that knowledge, I feel like, is just so important. Because like you said, just because these symptoms or what we're feeling is quote unquote common doesn't mean you have to live with them, or you should really.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's not, no amount of symptoms are normal for sure. It goes like, awesome. And it's just, and what's sad is that like people just accept this as normal because like if your knee hurts, you're probably going to do something about it. If your shoulder hurts, you're probably going to do something about it. You know what I mean? Like you're going to go to your doctor, you're going to want to go to physical therapy, you're going to want imaging or something, and you normally do something about it. But because it's the pelvic floor and because you pee yourself or you have incontinence or you have prolapse or you're constipated or, painful intercourse, like people just like don't
talk about it.
They don't get help. They don't get the help. And it's like, just talk about it. It's normal. And that's what I do. I literally say the things that people don't want to say because it has to be said, because I know exactly how people feel. Like I know you're that mom that just wants to talk about this, wants to get this fixed, but just doesn't know where to start or who to talk to or where to go. It's like, okay, I'll say that for you. I'll put it out. I'll put it out in the universe for you. And hopefully you do something no problem saying it for yourself. You know what I mean? It's like, I talk about pee, poop, and sex. Like never in a million years did I think I'd get here, but I say the things that people are afraid to say because I don't want people to live this way because it's not fun.
It's not. And like one of my main questions on my things is bowel movements, because our estrogen is excreted and the healthy metabolism of estrogen is through bowel movements. And I feel like I get some questions. They're like, oh, well, I don't know. I'm like, no, tell me. I want to know how they are. Are you going every single day? Like, are they easy? Do you hold on? Like all of those things matter so much. And so definitely on the nutrition side and then the physical side, like that's equally as important. And you think of so many disease states stem from gut health. And so it's like, okay, well, if you're holding on, the constipation, the straining, like all of that can lead to disease state and issues for literally ever and down the line. So it is an important conversation.
Yep, definitely. And I touch on nutrition a little bit too with my clients because it's so important where it comes to pelvic floor health too, like healthy bowel movements, healthy urination, healthy hormones to be able to have pleasurable intercourse. So and gut health too, because if you have gut issues, that can create pelvic floor issues as well. People with like PCOS, endometriosis, IBS, Crohn's, IBD, all of those gut and inflammatory pelvic disorders all affect the pelvic floor. So
absolutely. And especially with like sex, I feel like that's such a taboo topic. Like I'll have females come and say, you know, low libido, don't want to, like, just never, like, all of that definitely is hormonal, but it could be so physical too. And I don't think that that is as talked about. Like, I feel like hormones are definitely becoming more like talked about, and, you know, at least in my conversations, they are like low libido. That definitely tells me things like, and then if we do a hormone test, like if you don't have, of course, ovulation or that rise and fall, that makes sense, that you're not feeling like you want to have sex. But if you're right, if it's physically painful, why would you want to? But like sex is so good for hormone regulation and brain health and, you know, makes us happy. And so it's like, the physical is just as important.
Yep. It really is. And most people often overlook it, like, or they're just like, like there are some people where it's like, I've had painful intercourse for 2 years now. And it's just like, what? 2 years? Like, or their whole life, and most of the times it's like, my husband is so supportive of me. You know, he's patient. He's willing to wait and he's kind about it. But it's like, why don't you do something for that? Like, just reach out there. Like, nothing is TMI. Like, no. And I get it. It's a sensitive area. It's, you know, it's our private parts, but it's like, don't go another day living your life with these types of symptoms. Like, there is help for you, and there's people who understand and will do anything to help you. You know, you just have to seek the help.
Absolutely. And I'm so excited to have you today because I feel like I know that pelvic floor therapy is a thing, and it may be from knowing you or just because I am involved in social media. But let's say I wasn't involved in social media at all, and I didn't know you, or I didn't know some of my healthcare professional friends. Like, would I even know about pelvic floor therapy? Like, my provider has never told me about it. And maybe it's because I don't present any symptoms. Like, that's definitely possible. But I don't think it is super common, at least in what I've seen.
It's not. Nobody talks about it because people think that if there's nothing wrong, I don't need help. Right. So it is one of those things that it can be preventative. It can be like a prehab, but it doesn't necessarily have to be, you have to have something wrong to go. So always be an advocate for your health too. So if you do want to go to your provider and go to get pelvic floor therapy, just say something. And you don't have to say, can I have it? Tell them, say, I want to go and I want a referral. And if your provider does not give you a referral to go do something that you want, find a new provider.
Find a new provider.
That is what it is.
I've had multiple women tell me that their pelvic floor therapy definitely wasn't covered by insurance postpartum. And just, it wasn't like they didn't know they should get it or anything. And I feel like that should be like, especially for C-section. Oh my gosh, we haven't even talked about that. Like, if you hurt your shoulder, you get, 8 weeks of therapy or something. But C-sections and vaginal births don't. Like, I'm confused.
They just want you to go back to normal activity, right? 6 weeks postpartum and you go back to work, or 12 weeks and you go back to work. And it's like, or 6 weeks you have a vaginal birth and the doctor's like, yep, you're good to go run a marathon. You're good to go have sex again. And it's like, what? Like, I just,
so do you recommend longer? Like, you recommend longer than 6 weeks, or does some women like, okay, 6 weeks, or like, what do you think?
Yeah. I mean, it's okay if you feel ready. But it's okay if you don't feel ready to. Like, either, it doesn't matter. Like, how you feel, like, you can do what you feel is right for your own body. But at the same time, at 6 weeks, I don't care who you are not ready to go
That's
back
quick.
squat 200 pounds. You are not ready to go run 3 miles. Like, you might feel ready physically, you might feel ready
mentally,
but that does not mean your pelvic floor is ready. And yes, you might be okay and you might not have leakage and you might not have symptoms, but who's to say you won't have symptoms 5 years or 10 years later, or your second baby or your third baby? Like, just slow down and take the time to recover. I usually say your 4th trimester, that first 3 months postpartum, use that time to just slow down and ease back in. And when you hit 12 weeks, then maybe go for a run. Like, some people just jump right into it because they're like, yeah, my doctor said it's fine, I'm good. But athlete brain, remember? That's the athlete brain that thinks it needs to run at 6 weeks. And it's really, your pelvic floor is not ready. And the bounce
back, women are so ready to get back to physically what they were doing before, and that's just not the case.
And it makes sense. Like, I get it. Like, you don't have your body for 9 months and but that's the reality. Like, it's not your body. Like, you are growing a human, and that is amazing. Like, that is incredible. Can we just take that time and appreciate it? Like, just give yourself grace and patience and kindness, and use the 3 months to just be a potato if you want to be a potato. But at the same time,
sloth mode.
If you still want to work out, go work out, but you don't need to crank that intensity up to bounce back. Like, you'll get there. You'll get there.
And I feel like letting your body and like taking that time will set you up for a better quote unquote bounce back. Like, if you jump into things too quickly, that's actually could set you up negatively. So allowing your hormones to shift back and going through that slowly will help you later on, get that body back, or for your second pregnancy, like, you'll be in a better state. Well, do you have any other, I feel like that was like my main questions and comments. I feel like I learned a ton.
Yeah, there's a lot that we could ramble. We could probably talk about pelvic floor for a whole day. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy to answer questions from people listening. So like, reach out to me on social media, Female Athlete DPT, social media, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, whatever you fancy. And I will definitely have all of that listed below. So definitely go check her out. It's completely free, and she's so welcoming. Like, just send a message. Like, it can never hurt to send, not saying you are completely free. I'm saying it's free to send a message, to introduce yourself. And just a simple, hey, this is what I'm feeling. What do you think? Like, it's always a conversation. Yep, definitely. Happy to answer questions. And like I said, I do offer a free 30-minute call. So, go to my Instagram, book a call with me, and let's just chat. Let's just see what's going on. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Again, I'll have all of her information down below, but thank you so much, Courtney, for coming on my podcast. I absolutely love this. Having me. Thank you. Awesome. Alrighty. Well, we will talk soon. Thanks everyone for listening. Until the next podcast, have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Your support means more than you know. If you enjoyed this episode, I would be so grateful if you could leave a kind review, subscribe to this podcast, as well as share this on your social media with a screenshot. I am blessed to have this opportunity to connect with individuals like you and hopefully bring you some happiness today. You are the reason Authentic Health is possible. I value all of you so much. If you'd like to get to know me a little bit more, you can find me on Instagram at Lacey_Authentic Health, as well as my website listed in the description below. So thank you again, and until the next episode, let's chase our best selves and make it a great day.